Good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Samuels, and I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences here at the University of South Carolina. It's an extraordinary opportunity for me to be able to welcome all of you to this inaugural event in a year-long series, in fact, in a multi-year series, led by our extraordinary alumna, Jotaka Eaddy, entitled Coming Full Circle with Jotaka Eaddy. The College of Arts and Sciences is proud to sponsor this event, and we're proud to have our own coach, Don Staley, for our first iteration. I'm glad to see so many of you here. I'm glad to see so many of our university leaders here. Our new university provost, Donna Arnett, is with us. Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Julian Williams. A number of other university leaders, including Ray Tanner. In fact, as an unofficial announcement, immediately after this evening, I believe a university presidential cabinet meeting will be taking place in this room. We're just thrilled to have you all here with us tonight. We began this event as a part of a series of conversations that Jotaka and I had as part of the Women's Leadership Initiative, an initiative here on campus spearheaded by Mary Alexander in the Provost's office, which is designed to support women leaders across our university as they grow. I was honored to have the opportunity to be part of a fireside chat with Jotaka, a graduate of the College of Arts and Sciences, the Department of Political Science, and the University of South Carolina last spring. And it was during our lead-up conversations that we talked about what that could be if we used Jotaka's extraordinary knowledge, energy, and network to bring together Black women leaders in conversation with her to talk about their experiences, their challenges, their successes, the things they've done, the things they wish they would do, and the things that we can all do together. And that is what tonight is the first iteration of for us on this campus in our town, where we will bring together extraordinary leaders for the next years to come. I'm dying to tell you more about Jotaka, but our longtime mayor, Steve Benjamin, gets to introduce our speakers for tonight, so I won't take his thunder yet. But I do want to say that she was, among other things, the first Black female student body president of the University of South Carolina. I can't imagine how quite Steve Benjamin is going to introduce Coach Don Staley, national championship-winning coach. But I do need to tell a story and use this opportunity to do so. For 7 years, I was the head coach of the Columbia Quad Squad women's roller derby team here in Columbia. I was the only male affiliated with the team and the only person who did not know how to roller skate. On a jet bridge in Philadelphia, while Coach Staley was recruiting, I ran into her and I told her about the team. At the time, I'd been there about 3 or 4 years. By the time I retired, just so you know, the team was ranked 26th out of 350 teams in the world here in Columbia. And I said, can I bring them to a practice? Because they think that I coach them hard and I want them to see how you coach. Coach Staley said, absolutely, and ever since they said, oh, you're too easy on us. It was great to see that kind of leadership and the dedication she brought. I also want to thank a series of individuals who've helped us to make tonight possible, particularly from the athletics department, who've been incredibly supportive. Jessica Allison, Maria Hickman, Diana Koval, and Diane Palmer in particular. It was Jessica, a College of Arts and Sciences alumna, who heard our conversation at the Women's Leadership Initiative and said, I want to make this first event happen. She's the one who coordinated the almost impossible schedules of Don Staley and Jotaka Eaddy to make this happen. So Jessica, thank you for making this night happen. I also want to thank the College of Arts and Sciences communications team, particularly Brian Gentry and Kay Hayes, our extraordinary alumni relations team, Megan Plott, Morgan Watson, our 14 student ambassadors, many of whom you met tonight, who are undergraduate students getting to experience a full range of experience in supporting everything we do across the college, our partners in the School of Music and the Darla Moore School of Business who made tonight happen, and our support from the University Law Enforcement as well. And now I'm delighted to introduce our longtime mayor, Steve Benjamin, himself an alumnus of the Political Science Department in the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of South Carolina, himself a student body president at the University of South Carolina. Most recently, president of the U.S. Council of Mayors, now back in the private sector, but hopefully with more public service to come. Mayor Benjamin, it's my pleasure to welcome you and to ask you to help introduce our extraordinary speakers tonight.
Joel did everything but also repeat what I told our new provost, is that I also did not finish magna cum laude or summa cum laude. I finished thank you laude from the College of Arts and Sciences. I have no idea what qualifies me to give this wonderful introduction to two amazing women, other than to call both of them dear friends. I am highly qualified. I live in a house full of three amazing women. One, the Honorable DeAndre Benjamin, who celebrates a milestone birthday tomorrow. I won't say which one it is, but has been nominated by President Biden to serve as only the second black woman on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're so excited for her. And two amazing young women in training who are everything good that their mother is. I tell DeAndre every single day that she's the best thing that ever happened to me, and she agrees with me. So I'll use the three of them as my qualifications for standing on this stage with these two amazing leaders. I have the opportunity to introduce my friend Jotaka Eaddy, who I've known. We were in D.C. together much of last week, and I watched people literally genuflect to what Jotaka has been able to do as the head of Full Circle Strategies in a long career over the last 2 decades, built across the country, literally from a small office leading the civil rights agenda for this country and on Mount Hope Drive at the NAACP executive offices to transitioning this to DC to literally helping set the agenda on so many different fronts, not just for black women, but for all Americans. She's a voice that the president and everyone else on down listens to when she speaks. I've seen her do her Oprah thing, as many of you have, literally sitting side by side with Oprah the way she is with Coach Staley right now. But she's connected in a way with Silicon Valley and Washington, a way that no one, I believe, has before. She's been called the Olivia Pope of Silicon Valley. And usually when Jotaka calls me, asking me or telling me to do something, it's because she's already figured out how to do it, and she's putting the right people in place to help solve a problem. An amazing leader that I've known since she was an undergraduate here at the University of South Carolina, and she's still doing great things. You see an amazing person right here. This is not the finished product. There are so many great things to come from Jotaka Eaddy. So glad to have Jotaka Eaddy, CEO of Full Circle Strategies, here with us today. I remember my first time spending quality time with Coach Staley. This was before the championships, before she started kicking butt and taking names all across the country, all across the world. We were serving ice cream, Dawn, at Marble Slab on Gervais Street. And I look at the pictures still, and she looks the same. I don't. I'm not sure how that's possible. Obviously, there are very few people in this entire state that you can say needs no introduction. We know who this woman is. We know what she's done. We know how she has served as an incredible, not just basketball coach, but as an incredible moral leader for this state and this university. She is our brand ambassador, and we're so proud to call her a friend. We all know that under her leadership, the Gamecocks have seen many firsts. National championships, NCAA Final Fours, #1 rankings, SEC regular season and tournament titles. The one thing that stood out to me, Coach, in this long introduction, I'm not going to keep talking because people don't want to hear me talk, they want to hear you talk. We've been ranked in the top 25 every week since December 10th, 2012. Who can say that? Rocking with this lady who has been unapologetically herself and leading and speaking at times, and you all know the power of this, speaking at times for people who have no voice, who don't have the power or authority. I sent the coach a text the other day saying, I love the way you use your power, and know that we have your back every step of the way. We're thankful for you, Dawn, and we love you, okay? And then I'm going to be quiet because I have to mention 2 national championships for our Gamecock women's basketball team. Proud, proud, proud. All of those achieved while I was mayor of Columbia, just about. So I'll take it. I'm going to take credit for everything, Dawn. You know that. Please join me in welcoming Jotaka Eaddy and Coach Dawn Staley.
Wow. Okay. We could take Mayor Steve Benjamin with us. We can take you just everywhere with us. And a very happy birthday to DeAndrea Benjamin as well, who is turning 25. I believe it's 25 is the milestone birthday. So this is so exciting. Everyone, Coach Dawn Staley. Oh, goodness. So I am so excited for today. I am excited, number one, to be back in my home state of South Carolina at my alma mater, the University of South Carolina, home of the national championship women's basketball team, the South Carolina women's basketball team. It is great to be home. Before I get started, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege. I want to give a special shout out to my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Emmett Eaddy, who's here. I also want to give a special shout out. I often say I am from Johnsonville, South Carolina, population 1,491 people, and there's probably about 10% of the population of Johnsonville here tonight. But I want to say thank you to all of the good folks from Johnsonville, South Carolina, that have traveled to be here today. And I want to give a special thanks to Dean Samuels and the College of Arts and Sciences for just having the fortitude and just the willingness to really launch this series, and the entire university family that said yes to this series, coming full circle. And I am so honored to launch this series with the one and only, the GOAT, as I often remind her, the greatest of all time, Coach Dawn Staley. I am so excited for this conversation. Let's get right into it. I want to just start. I want to start with just you, young Dawn Staley, growing up in Philly. You were, the youngest of 5, my understanding. But growing up in Philly, talk to us about Dawn, little Dawn. Did she, as a child, think about basketball? Did she dream of being in the WNBA, being an Olympic gold medalist? Tell me about young Dawn, because I am so curious about young Dawn.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming in to help this conversation move in a direction where I hope that everybody's inspired. I hope everybody will get an opportunity to see that probably we are all more alike than different. That's one. And then Jotaka, how can you not be a part of something truly inspiring? She's an inspiration to me. I've had an opportunity to meet her a couple of years ago. We've stayed in touch, and I've seen the work that she does, and I know she thinks by her interviewing me, she's going to get something out of it. But I'm here to get something from her, a learning opportunity. But young Dawn grew up in the projects in North Philly. The youngest of 5. I had 3 older brothers. One is deceased, and I have an older sister. We grew up in a 3-bedroom row home in North Philly, where it was the project, so we had great heat, like hot, like you couldn't really control it. And I had both parents in the house, which was somewhat odd growing up where I grew up, because there's a lot of single family homes. It was super competitive in my house. Super, super competitive. I was the youngest, so I wore a lot of hand-me-downs. People know what hand-me-downs are? Yes. So I wore hand-me-downs, probably not from my sister, but more so from my brothers, because I didn't really like the way my sister dressed. So it was competitive. Like, it was to compete for everything, compete for time in the bathroom. Seriously, like, it was one bathroom, it was 7 of us, so you had to compete. And I got the nickname Dirt. Right? Not because I didn't compete for time in the bathroom, but more so because I was just really into sports. That's the only thing that really moved me, besides my mother's black belt. I moved a lot with that. She didn't
has a
spare
way
the
of
ride.
moving you.
Yeah, she did not spare the ride. I am a product of a disciplined household, but I played all different types of sports. I played like tackle football, I played baseball, I played basketball. I played, like, in the projects that I grew up in, there were row homes surrounded by this big field. We called it the big field, and the big field had a basketball court, it had a softball field, it had a baseball field, and then how incredibly innovative we are as young people. We got a 5-gallon can of paint, and we made like track lanes. I mean, we had our own Olympic Games right in the big field.
I love it.
So, and then one television, and the 2 sports that I saw women play when I was growing up were the Olympic Games and the national championship. So I had 2 goals in life. One was to be a gold medalist in the Olympics, and the other one was to be a national champion. And not in that order, but it ended up being in that order.
Mic drop moment, right? Talk about goals and reaching those goals. So interesting, and I have often shared with you that outside of South Carolina, most of my family lives in Philly, West Philly, from what they call the bottom in West Philly. I know you've told me you've heard about that. They are Don Staley fans. They stand for Don Staley. So, but when you talk about Philly and growing up, you often played sports with the boys. And some of those boys didn't want to play sports with you. I think we could probably figure out why, because you probably outschooled them. I actually learned a couple of lessons today at practice from Don Staley. Stay focused on the ball. Y'all, she took the ball from me. I came to practice today. I was prepared. I was bouncing the ball, and Don got me. She said, "Watch out." And next thing I know, the ball was gone. She was like, "See, lesson 1, stay focused," right? But let's talk about, you as a young girl, often playing with young boys who didn't want to play. And we see that now today. And I think we've grown a lot as it relates to young women and girls in sports. So talk to us about your experience and what you've seen in terms of the evolution. And I love these towels that are here that are talking about the 50th anniversary of Title IX, which is super important to equality in the sports.
Well, I mean, growing up where I grew up, there weren't girls playing any type of sports at all. Like 0% of my peers played any sport. I was drawn to challenges. I grew up in a challenging household. So I was super competitive. I don't know where I got, probably my mother is where I got my competitiveness from. So I had to channel that somewhere. And I was very fortunate that sports was the thing that I was drawn to. And since there weren't any girls playing, my only option was to play with the guys. My older brothers never liked it, never liked me playing with the guys. My mother didn't like it. Obviously, my father didn't like me playing with the guys because they thought I had some type of alternative, notion of playing. I mean, I didn't. I just wanted to beat whoever came on the court or who came on the field. And then you get backlash. You get backlash not only from the guys because they think you should be in the kitchen somewhere, or you should be going put on a skirt somewhere. I did that on Sundays. My mom made me do that. But then their girlfriends, and then the young ladies that are in the neighborhood got offended because I was playing with their boyfriends and their friends, and the only thing I want to do was just play. So I mean, obviously that to most would take a mental toll on how you operate in that space. For me, I really didn't care. Like I had one thing that I wanted to do, and that was to win. Win at basketball, football, baseball, a roach race. I wanted to pick out the winner. So it really didn't matter. But I think everything that has happened in my life, from a toddler all the way up until now, has prepared me for life itself. Like the toughness, the perseverance, the being an odds beater, doing things that are very different than most, have prepared me for where I stand in the space that I'm in today. So I don't know why. I do think it was something divine in how I grew up, and I always revert back to that.
That's really powerful words that you say, and you talk about this evolution and this journey. And so, young Don, who played with the boys, despite folks saying like, "Why is she here?" But you wanted to win. You go on. You played college basketball, where you led the University of Virginia to 3 Final Fours. You were drafted into the WNBA. You won three Olympic gold medals with Team USA. And now you are the first Black coach, male or female, to win 2 Division I national championships. So your life and this notion, this drive to win, has come full circle. What does that mean to you when you look back at not only what the dream and the goal was, and you look back at all that you have accomplished? What does that mean to you?
I never really look at it selfishly. Like I'm still very much in it. So when I think about it, I think about who I touch. Like every day I get to work with young people. I get to, from 18, sometimes 17 to 22, sometimes 23-year-olds. I get to work with them every day, and they have dreams. They want things. They want things in life. They don't know always how to obtain those things. So I just try to use my journey as one to part my knowledge and my ways and my experience onto them. So it's become more of just being a dream merchant for them. I've achieved basically everything that I've wanted to achieve in my life, and now I get an opportunity to mentor, to steer young people in the right direction. They don't always have to have it. Like, they don't. They come to us with goals and dreams. Their parents have goals and dreams. Their parents have, spent their life savings in order for them to send their children to college. And thankfully, there are scholarships, so there's opportunity for our players to change generations in their household. I was a first generation college graduate in my household, and the players that I coach are first generation, will be graduates. A lot of them have been that, and to be a part of changing that is by far the greatest feeling. So it's come full circle in being a part of someone's evolution of being a first generation graduate. But the circle is not complete. It's still ongoing, and I hope that I'm able to continue to help young people, both the ones that I get to work with every day, and the ones that come to our games, the ones that dream, the ones that look like me, but their outlook on life seems a little dire. They've lost hope. So I'm hoping that we are just our players, myself, and everybody everybody that can be a light for some young people who think, their darkest days are what they're experiencing today.
Yeah, that's so important because there's this powerful saying that it's very difficult to dream to be what it is that you cannot see. And you are just an example for young women and young men as well. It's not just young women, but you are an example of what you can be. And you talk about the players that you develop and that you work with, and I often say this all the time. I say, well, if you want to be a great basketball player, you can go to any Division I school in the country. But if you want to develop a great human, you send them to the University of South Carolina with Coach Don Staley. Because you're developing excellent players, but you are developing humans that will go into the world and create a ripple effect. But not only the players that you are working with day to day, here at the university, but you also have the Don Staley Basketball Academy, where you're working with young people to start very young, to pour into young people. Talk to us a bit more about what it means to you and why it's so important to give to even those that, before they are on a college basketball court, to pour into those young people.
Yeah. I think it's really important to share experiences. I think it's important to share, your expertise to young people. Again, and being in South Carolina, you just learn about things. I did not know how prevalent homelessness is here in South Carolina. I did not know until me and two other of my partners started an organization called Inner Soul. Inner Soul. It was birthed out of a conversation I was having with one of them, and she was cleaning out her closet, and she said she was going to throw out some new shoes, sneakers, or whatever. And I'm like, really? So I said, we just started talking about what a new pair of sneakers did for me when I was growing up in the projects. Like, seriously, I did not care what I looked like from my ankles up. I did not. As long as I had a nice new pair of sneakers on, I thought I could tackle the world. Seriously. And it's probably a little peer pressure in where I grew up because we deem sneakers as the thing. And I'm a lot of decades removed from that, but it still stands tall in our world today. And Inner Soul was birthed from that conversation, and we've met with social workers, we've met with nurses, principals, teachers, and I found more and more about how homeless children go to school, taxis, and everybody knows that. And it just takes your confidence down a notch. So, Inner Soul has provided over, how many, Angela? Because Angela's here. 35,000 new pairs of sneakers.
Wow.
While I'm talking about it, we've implemented, because I'm competitive, really competitive, we implemented, continually learn about South Carolina. There's map testing. You got to pass your map test to get to the next grade, to advance. And if you're worried about looking like your peers, it can affect the results of your map testing. So we started an initiative called Educate My Soul. So we started intra-school, like competition between all the 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. So whatever class that graded the highest in these variables, fitness, physical fitness, reading, attendance, and Angela, help me. Yep, behavior. Yep, behavior. Whatever class, and obviously we have to go in with the principal and partner with them, and we had to partner with the parents and the students and the teachers. So each grading period, we have an assembly for the winners of all of third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. And we give new pairs of sneakers out. And it isn't, it is somewhat to dangle that carrot of a new pair of sneakers in front of the rest of the people that did not win, because we wanted them to compete in these variables that we felt like are essential to their success. Did I say attendance? Okay. So, the overall academics. So, so those new pair of sneakers, we wanted those students to be able to just fit in. And once you fit in, you're taking in the information that the teachers are giving and utilizing it to pass your MAP testing. So that's what it's about. That is truly what it's about, just to, recognize the fabric of what South Carolina is all about and dive in to help.
Well, you certainly have helped South Carolina in many ways, and I think many would argue that you have elevated in so many ways, just not only through your brilliant coaching skills, but just the voice. And I want to go there. Before I go there, I do want to talk about you as a coach, because you have won. I am a Dawn Staley. I text her all the time and say, just a reminder that you're the GOAT. But you have won the Joe Naismith Award, the only person, I believe, that have won it as a student and as a coach. And I think that speaks, that's a round of applause for that. And that speaks volumes to just the full circle in which you've come. But as a coach, you are known as the player's coach. And when there was this new rule around player likeness with NCAA, you were a pioneer, and you did an excellent interview on The Breakfast Club in which you shared that you were very intentional off-season with your players in ensuring that they understood the rules and as it was fit for them to leverage those new rules. Can you share a bit more about why it was and continues to be important to you to ensure that your players are maximizing opportunity off the court in addition to what they're doing on the court?
I got to speak on this, because I speak on being a player's coach. Because sometimes when you say being a player's coach, nationally that means basically, your knowledge of the game, you being a good tactician, it's not a part of being a player's coach. It is, it is something less than, but the proof is in the results.
And we have the results here.
We're as coaches, we have to, we're servants for our players. Not just playing. That's really the easy part. That's really the easy part of coaching. The hardest part of coaching is making sure that every player feels like they're a part of the team, no matter if they play a minute or play 0 minutes. You have to make them feel like they're a part of the team. And when there was a rule passed about name, image, and likeness last July 2021, I knew we were bringing back a really good team, like a championship team. So honestly, I wanted to protect that. I wanted to protect our positioning in winning a national championship. So I decided that since this rule had passed, I was gonna, I talked to our team and I'm like, okay, well, here's a rule. I can help you find representation if you want representation. If you do, let me know. So, and I told him to text me on the side or call me on the side. So I asked a couple of agents that I knew that wanted to get in and represent some of our players. So I set up those Zoom calls with our players, with the agents, with their parents, because the parents are a part of this entire process. I did about probably 20 with our entire team, those who wanted representation. And I did it in the fall, like right before we were going to start. Actually, it was July. Because I remember being on the road recruiting on the Zoom call while I'm trying to get some other players. So it was long and tedious, and and I wanted our players to settle in on it. I didn't want it to be a distraction for any of them. So the ones that got representation were pretty set on it. And I can honestly say that once we settled in on it, it never became an issue. Like, it never came in the locker room. It never, no one ever said that, this person's getting this person. Maybe there was the newness of it. And then fast forward, we win the national championship, and then now we're back again with another year knowing a little bit more about NIL. So we're back at that place again. I'm asking our players if they want representation. I'm also leveraging, like, there are people who want me as part of some deals. And I don't really go into deals without bringing our team in. Like, if you want me, you're going to have to sign our entire team. And if you're going to sign, yep.
Yes.
So, and that is to keep the sanctity of our team together. Like, there are players that make a whole lot of money from NIL. A couple of them make a lot. There's some that make none. So in order for us to preserve and keep the peace amongst our locker room, we got to go out and find these deals so everybody feels like they're a part of it. Again, it's all about making sure everybody feels a part of it. And, fortunately for us, this entire community here at South Carolina, really, they love up on our team and our players and our program to the point where we're able to find some all-team deals and make everybody feel comfortable. So, we can continue to win championships.
That's right. That's absolutely amazing, this notion of team. Now, I want to talk about, we've talked about young Don, we've talked about, Coach Don. I want to talk about Don Staley, the voice. Don Staley, the advocate. You and I have had the opportunity to work together on an issue that's near and dear to both of our hearts, and that is our dear sister, your very good friend, Brittany Griner. And the worldwide call for Brittany Griner to be home. Talk to us about just really the evolution of voice for you, because you have been vocal on so many issues, whether it's the importance of exercising our right to vote, the threats to democracy, to the important advocacy to ensure that we bring Brittany Griner home. And thank you, Don Staley. Because of your leadership, because of your voice, you have led hundreds of thousands of people who look to your leadership from the White House and beyond on this issue, but a multitude of issues that you have become really a go-to, not only in sports, but beyond, as a voice on these issues. Talk about the evolution of that voice and the importance of that voice.
Well, I just think that, life is really simple. There's a right and there's a wrong. It really is. It's that simple. Brittany Griner, I've known for the past 10 years. I know her, when I was an assistant coach on the Olympic team in 2016, we were shipmates. Like, her room was right next to mine, so we run into each other all the time. On the court, she's always was cordial. She was, she's funny. She is, she's a human being. She's an American. And regardless of what she said, regardless of if you share in the same views of life than her or not, she's an American. She's a human being that's being wrongly detained. And there's really nothing that she can do about it. Like, there's nothing she can do about it. But there is something that the people who love her can do about it. And that is to shout to the top of our lungs to make sure that our voices are heard for her. Because I just think about, to me, she's considered a loved one, because I know her. Like, I know her. Like, I speak to her. I speak to her wife, and I know them. We've broken bread together. We've won a gold medal together. We've won a World Cup together. And she's in a position of, is helplessness and hopelessness. And I really can't see why people can't see that. Like, I really, it's very simple. Regardless of if we agree or disagree on views on life or whatever, the flag or whatever, because, some of the senselessness that well, every day that I post, I see the senselessness that people say about Brittany, and they have no idea. Like, they have no idea. And I don't wish any ill will on those people, but I certainly wish that there was something comparable that gives them a different perspective on it. So I have to continue to do that because it's my friend. And I also think that Brittany being in this situation, she's going to be able to bring somebody else home with her that would not have gotten out unless she's in this position. So, and in her darkest day, Brittany said, don't forget about us. Not don't forget about me. Don't forget about us who are over here, being detained in a Russian prison and abroad. So, how can you not, cheer her release? And I'm just gonna keep screaming to the top of my lungs. I'm gonna keep posting. I'm gonna keep talking to anybody that I can. And we talked to Jotaka's, the White House visit that was extended to her wife doesn't just happen because we're sitting on our hands. It happens because Jotaka knows people in the White House. It happens because we're calling, the president and the vice president out to say, something needs to be done to bring her home.
Oh, thank you for your leadership on that. I want to talk about, coming full circle, this is a conversation series in which we'll be having conversations with dynamic Black women leaders from across the country. And I want to talk about Black women because you are unapologetically, Dawn Staley, you are unapologetically a Black woman in everything that you do. And you are such inspiration, particularly to Black women, because you are very vocal about being a Black woman, being a proud Black woman. And in this country, what we know about Black women, that Black women, we are the most educated demographic in this nation. We start businesses at faster rates than any other demographic in this nation. We as Black women, in most cases, 81% are head of household, but yet still face a lot of backlash. We still face sexism and racism. Talk about just being a Black woman in the position that you're in and having the platform that you have and utilizing that from that vantage point.
So I'm going to preface my answer by saying this. Just because I'm a Black woman doesn't mean I'm hating on other races. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not. Yes. Like, it's not. Yes. It's not. I can only be who I am. I can only have the perspective of of who I am. I can only go through this, this life as I see it. And it differs, from other people, other races. But it doesn't mean my mom would say, dog pounding on anybody, because I'm not. I just feel like there are certain things that black women go through that, no other ethnic group goes through. And we're just sharing what we're going through to educate some, to help others, and also just to if I can help someone not fall in the pitfalls of what I've had to deal with, I want to do that. And it's not, I really try really hard not to condemn anybody. I try to be non-judgmental when it comes to speaking out on things. I don't know how, I can't control how people take them, but I certainly am going to give you what's in my heart and what's on my heart. Mm-hmm. And you can either, respect it or not. I'm not going to argue with anybody. I'm not going to go back and forth with anybody. I'm just going to give my perspective. Being a black coach and being someone that's successful in this, in my profession, you get that. You get she's a player coach, right? Being a player coach, that means you're not a great tactician. You can get your players to play a certain way, but not at the level of other ethnic group coaches. Like, and we have to answer to these things. We have to answer to why we are so successful. And we do. We have to answer to those things. I just feel like I'm real. Like I say this a lot. I'm becoming like more of my mother as I get older.
Wow.
Like some of the stuff that I used to just get really upset at, embarrassed by how my mother operated. It's me. Like it's me.
I love it. I love it.
But it's, I'm grounded. I'm a disciplined person. I'm a person that really sees things fairly simply and clearly. And that's the way I live my life. And I just want to help. I just want to help move the world in a better place. Am I always right? No, I'm not always right. But if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to say that I'm wrong. And I don't have an issue with that at all, with any part of my life, because we all fall short. Every single one of us falls short. It's when you fall short and you just don't apologize and get in front of it, you fall a little deeper.
Or if you don't get back up,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And for those of you that, if you are on social media, we encourage you to use hashtag Coming Full Circle to lift up this conversation. If you're on Instagram, do yourself a favor and follow Coach Dawn Staley at Staley05 on Instagram. And on Twitter, you can find her at Dawn Staley on Twitter. And I must say, she is Twitter goals for me because she is the clapback queen.
Just one. I'll clap back once.
Every now and then, I love it. So we're gonna have a few audience questions, and when we wrap up, I'm gonna forewarn you that I'm gonna come back with my flash round of questions.
Okay.
Where you can't pause too long, but we're gonna wrap up with that. And we are just delighted to have some student ambassadors, and we're gonna start right over here with the first question.
Hello, I'm Halia. I'm Sydney, and we are ambassadors from the College of Arts and Sciences, and on behalf of the audience, we're here to ask the questions that they wrote down. The first question is, what has been the biggest challenge when it comes to leading fellow adults?
Biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge when it comes to fellow adults. That's a good question.
The biggest challenge is probably to agree to disagree agreeably.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously, like, I mean, we see things through our lens, no matter who we are, through our experiences, and, sometimes when people don't just agree with how you see things, it becomes an argument, and it becomes, bantering, and, life is too short. You say what you have to say, I say what I have to say, and then I'm really done with it after that. Well, if it's social media, I kind of check and see how many followers you have. And if you got a big audience, I might have to give it back to you a little bit. If you don't have a big audience, I might just not worth 2 followers.
Yes. See, we're getting all of these gems from Coach John Staley. Check the followers. Yes.
So our next question is, if you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
Wow, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'm so competitive. I probably will be broke because I'd be gambler, and I probably wouldn't win. Seriously, like, I don't know. Coaching found me because I never wanted to be a coach a day in my life. I got to tell you the story of how I became a coach. Back in 2000, one of my friends worked at Temple University, and they had a head coaching vacancy, women's basketball, and he asked me if I was interested, and I'm like, no, right, no. And he kept coming back asking me if I was interested, and I'm like, no, I'm 29 years old, I'm playing in the WNBA, no. So the Final Four was in Philadelphia. I was on the 2000 Olympic team, so we were going to play an exhibition game in Philly during that time. So the AD of Temple at the time, the late great Dave O'Brien, asked me to come talk to him. I'm from Philly, so I felt like I had to do it. Like I had to go talk to him. So I went up to Temple when we got in town and sat me down just like this. He asked me 2 questions. He said, one, can you lead? My bubble talk said, what is this man asking me? Can I lead? Like, you don't want to ask me to come here. Like, that's my bubble talk. And then I'm like, I said, I can lead. I said, I'm a point guard position. I lead. I've been a captain on basically every team that I've been on. I can lead. He was like, okay, good. He was like, can you turn Temple women's basketball program around? Like the nerve of him to challenge me. I told you I'm drawn to challenges.
Competitive, right?
Right? So he stunned me with that, though. He really did. I didn't really have an answer for that question. And then he ended up saying, okay, well, can you walk down the hall and meet some other people? Sure, I'm here. Why not? So I walked down the hall, in this conference room, and there are like 10 to 12 people sitting around this conference room, and they sit me at the front of the head of the table. And they were just firing off all these questions, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, playing in the WNBA, do you see yourself coaching? I was like, no, I'm a player, like a professional athlete. Y'all, I was on a job interview. And I didn't know, I'm 29, 30 years old. I've never been on a job interview, ever. Like, everything was just basketball. And I'm sitting there answering the question like, I got a job. I don't really need this job. But needless to say, 2 weeks later, I took the job. Don't ask me why. But again, it's something divine about my career and my journey that if I shouldn't have, myself, no, I didn't want to coach. I didn't want to be responsible for 18 to 22-year-olds. And I was just 29 myself. So I didn't think I was capable. I hadn't even grown. This is my first job interview. I took the job, and you know, the rest is history. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't know what I'm not supposed to be doing or what I would have been doing if I hadn't got into coaching.
Well, I think that the challenge and the full circle nature for you to be back in Philly at Temple, where you did turn that program around. So challenge accepted, right? So we'll take two more questions, one more question from the audience.
What is some advice that you would give to your younger self?
The advice that you would give to your younger self.
It's probably, this is one of my life mottos. And I learned this probably during one of my darkest times of my career, when I got cut from the '92 Olympic team. Remember, that was my goal. Like, the first time around, I got cut. It is, as I look back on my life, it is what my household was about. It was discipline. The disciplined person can do anything. Can do anything. So I would tell my younger self, and I probably was this because I was singularly focused on sports. Singularly focused on sports. But I started applying it to other areas of my life, which was academics, because my mother didn't play. If you didn't bring home good grades, you weren't gonna bounce the basketball. So I started being disciplined in academics. I was super disciplined in not involving myself with what my neighborhood was about. Like, I look back on it, divine intervention. Like, in my neighborhood, there were so many things, so many negative things going on at the time, and it just didn't move me. Like, it didn't move me to stay out at night or to go to parties, or I'm the same way, y'all. I'm the same exact way. Like, I'm usually in the house by now. I'm usually in the So it's just that. Like, just being disciplined. It's the same message that I give to young people. But also, being disciplined is something, you know, you could be really good at it. It could be a negative thing and you could be really good at it and it doesn't help you. So it has to be something positive that's going to impact your life to where you can find success.
Thank you for that. So thank you for those audience questions. So we're going to wrap up. I really could sit here and talk to you all day, all night. But we're going to wrap up with a couple of quick questions. Okay. The only rule is that you cannot think too long before you answer. I'm going to give you an easy one to start off. Okay. I'm hoping that I think that there's a right or wrong answer to this first question. Okay. Salt or sugar in your grits? Where's South Carolina?
No, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I like a lot of sugar. I got a sweet tooth, but salt in the grits. My bad. And cheese.
Yes. Don knows how to read a room, right? All right. So Sierra Johnson, who's on my team, she's probably going to be very upset that I have called her out. But she specifically wore her Air Jordan 1s.
Saw that.
Today. Because she knows how much you love sneakers. So what are your favorite pair of sneakers?
My favorite sneakers are the newest ones. No. I like Air Jordan 1s. Low top, though. Low top. Travis Scott.
Low top. All right. Yeah. You and Sierra, y'all are aligned on the Air Jordan 1s. Okay. The best I could do today was like some Cole Haan sneakers. I was on the court like with Cole Haan sneakers. Like, that's probably why I got schooled on the court today. Next question, favorite artists?
Ooh, Anita Baker.
That's a good one. Okay, so if you could play basketball with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
I mean, do it have to be a basketball player or just
It could be anybody. You could play basketball, one person, dead or alive.
Nelson Mandela.
Ooh. That would be an excellent game to watch. Bless his soul. Now, I'm gonna give you this. This may be a cheat because you can, maybe it's another person. But if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would that be?
You're gonna make this happen for me.
Okay.
Oprah.
Oh! I'm gonna work on it. If she's watching, Miss Oprah Winfrey, you heard it here first. Coach Don Staley would like to have dinner with you. So maybe we can get the university to help us make that happen. My last question, often we talk about superpowers, and I believe we as human often have superpowers. You have many superpowers. But if there was one additional superpower that you could possess, what would that power be?
God, this is a good question. To be able to cure all illnesses.
Powerful. And I know that you've had journeys and that you've been a fighter, an advocate, a caretaker. That's very powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, it is, I could keep going. Isn't she amazing? Isn't she amazing? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have come full circle with Coach Don Staley. Everyone, please, let's give a round of applause for Coach Don Staley coming full circle. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I will turn it back over to Dean Samuels. Again, what amazing subject to have a conversation with. Thank you to this entire university. We encourage you, hashtag coming full circle. But one last time, Coach Don Staley.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us. I want to first join in echoing our thanks to our guest tonight, Don Staley, and I want to say something that I believe is sacrilegious in this town and at this university. Coach, we love your competitive spirit. We love that you've brought 2 national championships with more to come, but we don't care about them. What we care about is the moral courage you lead with, the leadership and the vision that you bring, and what you bring to our community, to our state, and beyond. We're grateful to you for that above all else. And to Jotaka Eaddy, whose parents I haven't had the chance to meet, but I can only imagine what your household must have been like to raise this extraordinary, extraordinary woman. This is just the first of many conversations where I hope we'll all join together to come full circle together with Jotaka Eaddy and her guests. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for gracing us. Thank you for leading us. And thank you all for joining us. Have a safe drive home and a wonderful evening.